Welcome to another episode of Exteriors by Gary Whillock. Today we're talking about decks and making them watertight over living space. Now, part of this deck that I'm on is over living space. Part of it is actually over a giant soffit that's got stucco on it, but that stucco continues back to the living space, which means if any water gets in here, it has the potential of traveling back into that living space. Now, behind me you see this project is well under construction. It's a complete remodel, getting it back into shape. It is an estate home. I'm currently here above Lake Austin. I'll show you a view of that in just a minute. But what I want to show you is the length that it takes to get a deck reconditioned and made right. This deck had not leaked up against the house here, but it had leaked tremendously out towards the edge. Either way, you want to make sure that when you do a deck or when you redo a deck, that you get every detail watertight. Now here, there's going to be a special flashing that goes in underneath the windows, back up under the windows with a turn back to keep any water from seeping. That's actually going to be stainless steel. Around these stucco columns, these are going to be, and I'm going to show you over here on this other side so you can see a little bit better as we walk around this rotunda area. Here you can actually see over the rail down to the channels and of course a little bit further to Lake Austin. It's a beautiful place. These balconies, these decks will be used a lot. Now we've got a lot of wind blowing today, so you hear this plastic blowing in the background. The part of the membrane out towards the edge has been removed. Also removed is the stucco around the wall so we can have a proper membrane flashing going up the wall. Now this time we're actually going to install a flashing around that'll be much like the little copper flashing you see under this window, a little bit larger than that. It's going to be 2 inches and it's going to be up a little bit higher. And then the tile that's going to be on the deck is actually going to be floating on pedestals. So it's not going to be on the deck. It's not going to be installed into thin set like this one was before. Now you can see what it takes to open up these stucco walls. It's a process. My crew did this in about 3 days. It got a little bit tough on the front side where it was all in thin set on concrete. So it took them about the 4th day, I think, to get that completely done. There's about 3,000 square feet of deck on this area. This is a no travel zone over here because we don't have the safety rail up here yet, so I won't be going over there. But you can see that it requires opening up all the walls. Let me just zoom in here a little bit. No matter what, you have to have a flashing in there that works right. And at the edge, you've got to find a way to get the water away from the stucco. You don't want it running down the stucco. The cost was pretty exorbitant. Where these beams had to be replaced all the way across the back side of the house, about 130 feet of them in total. So you don't want to do that, even though it's going to last for years, and it did. But it had always been leaking since probably year 2, 3, or 4, or 5, based on the amount of rot. And there's just going to be a lot of prep work, and there always is when you have a deck over living space, where you've got to get the membrane up, and it was before. Unfortunately, they did not leave a flashing so we can do it again. They did have a flashing underneath these doors, a door pan that goes underneath, which is outstanding. A lot of people are getting away from door pans and just using adhesive and self-sticking products, but that's really not the way the self-sticking, self-adhesive products are supposed to use. There's a ton of different things that can be done, but if you don't do it in a traditional way, you can find yourself in a lot of trouble with projects where you've got a flat area and you're going to be installing some sort of a deck material. In this case, we're installing a porcelain tile. It's a skid-resistant porcelain tile. The porcelain is so tough, it just lasts and lasts. The other nice part about porcelain is you buy a few extras. If you ever have a major problem, like a major piece of furniture being moved, scratch one, or something like that down the road, they can be easily replaced. These are on pedestals. They can actually just be lifted up. They're quite heavy. These are going to be 2 feet by 4 feet in size, and so they are quite substantially heavy for each one. But that's what's going on. But the first step to doing a deck and getting it right is to get the waterproofing right first. Now we're going to be installing an 80 mil PVC on this deck next week if the weather holds. Right now it's beautiful. It's Saturday. I've got a small crew here, stucco guys doing, trying to catch up from the rainy week that we had last week. And it's a short crew. I think there's only 5 guys here. So they've got a long way to go with that. But here we are doing the exteriors. We're installing the deck on this. We're doing the waterproofing to get it right first. That's always the starting point for any deck, is get the waterproofing right first.